right.
So, fast forward again
Okay.
to 1846.
Okay.
We have a young man, he's 28 years old, just graduated from medical school, right? Not too long ago. Graduated from medical school. His name is Ignaz Semmelweis.
Ah.
Yeah? Okay. So Ignaz Semmelweis is this very bright young man, but he's also a little bit of an outsider, right? Because he's not from a very wealthy family. He's the son of a grocer. But he's very, very intelligent, and he has worked his way through medical school, and he has now taken a position as the assistant to Professor Johann Klein at the Vienna General Hospital, where he is serving as the clerk of records.
Okay.
He is going through their records, and he sees something disturbing.
Not surprising.
They have 2 clinics dedicated to babies. They have 2
Obstetrics.
obstetrics. Yes. That's the word. They have 2 of these maternity wards at their hospital. The first ward, which is manned by doctors and students, right?
Okay.
And the second, which is manned by midwives and their trainees.
2 teams. Got
Yes. The services at these clinics are offered for free, just as an attempt by the Austrian government to try to improve general health and well-being, because there were a lot of poor people that were afraid to go to the hospital because it cost too much, and so would just have their babies at home, and there would be some kind of complication, and the baby would die.
Ugh.
Right? It's and so, not being monsters, they were like, well, we should find a way to not have people absolutely crippled by medical debt and still be able to get the treatment that they need.
Gotcha. So hence the free clinic.
Hence the free clinic.
Doctors in one
right?
camp, nurses or midwives in the other.
Yes. So we are now training additional doctors and midwives, and we're offering their services for free. All you have to do is tell us, we'll send an ambulance, we'll bring you in, we'll treat you. But the childbed fever is a major risk at this time. A lot of even very famous people died of childbed fever at this time. Mary Shelley's mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, died of childbed fever.
Oh, wow.
Even famous people were dying of this thing, and it was everywhere. So Semmelweis is looking at the records, and he notices that the rates of childbed fever are much, much, much higher at the clinic run by doctors. And they are much, much lower at the clinic run by midwives. Something like 6 times higher at the clinic run by doctors. Right? Let's see if I can remember the numbers. In the clinic run by the midwives, it was 1 woman in 100. No, that's not right. It was 1 woman in 20, about 5%.
Okay.
Would die of childbed fever. So still pretty high.
Yeah,
right?
that's still horrifying.
At the doctor's clinic, it was 1 in 5. It's 20%.
Oh.
And the numbers went up and down and around and everything. But by and large, it's really, really bad. So bad, in fact, that when women are brought to the hospital, they beg the ambulance driver to take them to the second clinic, even if it's not the second clinic's day to take in new patients. And if they were refused, there were multiple cases of women bailing out of the ambulance and having their baby on the street.
Oh! Rather than go to the death
yeah,
doctors.
refusing to go into the clinic and instead having their baby on the sidewalk. And the women who had their babies on the sidewalks also had a higher survival rate.
Still did better. Oh, man.
Than the clinic. So, Semmelweis sees this, and he's this very analytical person. He looks at it and says, something is wrong. And there's got to be a way to fix it. So he digs into it, and he starts looking for clues. And so one of the things is that the midwives tend to have women deliver, like, lying on their sides, and the doctors have women lie on their backs. And so he goes and retrains all of the doctors and gives it time to take effect, and there's no change. Right? They continue to just drop like flies. He goes through and he goes and like walks through the halls, and he realizes that there's this sound of a bell ringing. And he goes and tracks it down, and it's the priest coming to give last rites to the women that are dying. And it's almost constant in this place. So he goes to the priest and says, I think I have an idea. I think that you are causing...
It's you and your stupid bell.
I think it's you and the bell. I think these women are, like, dying of fear. I think that the fear is disrupting their humors, causing them to develop a fever and die. So get rid of the bell, mister. You can still do the last rites, but no more bell. I need you to sneak in here.
Why do we even have a bell?
No. What are you, the ice cream man? So he literally has the priest like sneak in if he's gonna do anything. He's not allowed to use the main corridor anymore. He's got to sneak in to give last rites.
If he's killing people with his bell.
Yeah,
serves him right.
It also does not work.
Naturally.
Tragically, it was not the bell.
It was not the bell.
They were not
we were so
actually
close.
dying of fear. Even though that would be pretty metal. So he tries a bunch of these different things to see if anything works, if anything sticks, and it doesn't. Everybody's still dying. So he does. He actually makes a pretty good decision and goes on vacation. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good call. When he gets back, not only have things not gotten better, his friend has died.
Oh.
One of the other doctors has died while he was away. And he says, well, how did he die? They say, well, he was doing an autopsy, assisting one of these other students, and the student cut his hand with the scalpel. And then he developed meningitis and died. And Semmelweis looks at all of this stuff and he says, you know what? This looks exactly like childbed fever.
But wait, he wasn't a pregnant woman.
He wasn't a pregnant woman. He was certainly not afraid of bells. Something happened to him in that autopsy that caused him to become sick. So he developed this theory that maybe there were invisible bits of cadaver, he called them cadaverous particles, that were too small to be seen, but were there on the knife that were transferred to his friend when the student accidentally cut his hand. So he starts to look into it, and there is a detail about these doctors that I have been leaving out. The doctors in the first clinic performed autopsies on everyone that died.
Everyone?
Yes.
Holy smokes.
So they were doing autopsies all the time. This was a teaching hospital, so it was a great opportunity to show people, like we were talking about, what's going on inside of a person. So all of these people are dissecting people every day. They are covered in gore all of the time because that's what doctors look like. It's the mark of their profession. When they walk into a room, you want to know that you've got a real doctor. And the only way to know that is if he's covered in someone else's blood. So, doctors would go straight from the autopsy table to delivering babies.
With their dead person hands.
With their dead person hands, with their cadaverous particles.
Ugh.
And Semmelweis finally connects the dots, and he is horrified. Like, this is a realization that shook him to his core. He just cannot wrap his mind around this. He's figured out what is causing this epidemic of childbed fever, and it's the doctors. The doctors are the ones killing everyone.
It wasn't the bell at all.
It wasn't the bell. It wasn't even the priest.
Thought for sure it was the priest.
I could have sworn it was the priest. It was the doctor the whole time. The man with the knife. It seems obvious now that I look back on it. So, he freaks, obviously. But also, he has developed enough rapport that he is able to go to his boss, the director of the hospital, and say, we are doing some sweeping changes right now. And he goes and buys a bunch of chlorinated lime, which for those of us who don't know chemistry, what is chlorinated lime?
Bleach is actually pretty close. It's a chlorine cleaner, essentially. Used, I believe, in sewers.
Used in sewers?
Yeah, it was actually used for cleaning up some of those things because it did kind of like burn organic matter on a certain level.
Oh, wow.
And so it was one of these things used to help get down the smell, right? Because the smell of these sewers and everything would, cause sickness because smell does that. And so, yeah, chlorinated lime was one of the things used to clean some of these sewers and kind of keep the smell down.
Okay.
And so I think that was the connection.
Yes. So he goes and makes this solution of chlorinated lime and water. He says, okay, every doctor has to wash their hands before delivering a baby. That's everybody, right? All of you doctors, all of you students, you have to wash your hands thoroughly. And they do so. Not happily. Because they're kind of resistant to this idea of like, hey, I figured out what the problem was. It was you.
Turns out
you are the problem.
Killed all these patients of yours.
You killed all these people. It was completely unnecessary. Just dip your lily white hands in this, and it will make the
potion.
Dip your hands in this potion. It'll make the illness goblins go away. That's how he sounded. But deaths drop 90%.
Nice.
He says, okay, no, everybody's washing their hands. Right? Not just the doctors and students. Everybody. Everybody's washing their hands. You know what? I'm going further. We're washing the bedclothes. We're washing the instruments. We're washing the walls.
You unhinged freak.
We're going to make this entire hospital completely sterile. And people are not happy about this because it smells. And according to the miasma theory of disease, all of these strong smells are going to make people sick.
Ironically, I still to this day hate the smell of hospitals.
Yeah, hospitals smell gross.
Right.
And bleach, not a great smell.
Yeah.
And so he's just wiping down the entire hospital. The whole place smells like bleach, and everybody's like, you are going to make people sick. My eyes are burning. That's a sign that I'm probably going to get eye cancer. You're making people sick. But in 2 months, the fatality rate from puerperal fever drops to 0. 0
So
fatalities.
vindication, they all love him now.